It's quarter to Friday and it's a beautiful Thursday. I'm here with Ashwin Berry. We are going to be making your day. We are going to be having, discussions around family, friends, relationships, sports, and everything that you absolutely would love to know this morning so that you can kickstart your day on a positive note. My name is Aina Raiza Kweo. How are you doing, sir?
I'm fine. I'm good. I'm good. You know me, I spend my time in the news cycle. I think we were all paying attention to Kenya.
Yes.
Yes. It seems like President William Ruto retracted. The reason I'm saying this is because Smell the Coffee is for the youth.
Yes.
For the most part. And
And it's the Gen Zs that
That's the story I want to talk about. Gen Zs are different, né?
Yeah, Gen Zs, they don't take nonsense.
They don't, because when you tell them we fought for the country with blood, they'll say, show us. They'll say, show us.
No, the Gen Z is that they are not. What I appreciate about Gen Z is they do as they say.
They do as they say.
Gen Z, they will tell, if they tell you today we are showing up, trust and believe they will show up.
I was watching this video of a Gen Z talking to the aunt, and then the aunt had said something, and then the aunt tried to hug, and she said no. And then she said no. And then the aunt says, you need to work on your affection. She says, you need to work on personal boundaries.
Hey.
Just now you were talking and you were dismissive from what I said. So until we have an agreement, let's not try and hug each other to try and come. I said, hey, it's a different story.
It's a different time. But, we are proud of Gen Z. I think... they are the leaders and they are taking up space.
It will be voting in Namibia this year.
Yeah, and they'll be voting in Namibia this year. So the difference between Gen Z and millennials, I feel like millennials and the former generations are more lenient. They are more... I think they take A and B and then they critically analyze.
We try our best.
And
but
then
also it's because we are too close to the trauma of the past.
Maybe.
It's easy to remind us. Things were like this, things were like this. Gen Z, their memory starts...
start from soft.
From Lil Uzi Vert there. You're not just going to jump onto them.
Yeah.
And I really like it. I mean, even if you look at the Namibian music industry, let's talk about some Gen Zs. Miss Gideon, that's a Gen Z, very potent, came through unapologetically. She'll give you a gospel song, she'll give you a raunchy song. Does not matter, I'm making my art. Yize, another Gen Z.
Yeah.
It's nice to see how the main thing I think about Gen Z is they unashamedly take space, and we love that.
Unapologetic. But let's move on to another conversation I think that would also interest Gen Zs because I think most of them are into it, and I think the millennials and the older generations were kind of opposed to it. What is your take on cohabitation? Is that something that you are opposed to, or is that something that you...
It depends on your goals. It depends on your goals in that relationship.
Because I think now the media and like the whole world is pushing, no, you need to live with your partner, you need to know your partner.
That part helps. Because sometimes you think you're marrying a partner, meanwhile you're signing a contract for the service industry. Because a partner assumes that you do everything together. But some people, you realize after living with them that the way that they live is different from the way that they love.
Yeah.
And that sometimes that distinction is so clear that you cannot do one with the other. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I really think it comes down personally. Of course, you know me, African men, I think if you are to cohabitate, get permission from parents. At least that.
Which parent would ever allow?
That's another story. That's another story. You know what I'm saying? But if you're going to cohabitate, at the very least, in my opinion, only because so much happens, especially when you're young and dating, in those houses, so much is revealed, and you want there to be, a safe space for them to be able to talk about what's going on, because sometimes people are getting into abusive situations, they're getting isolated, and some things you just can't do when your parents know. So that would have been my reason for not cohabitating, but I would say if you are to do it, I'll say get consent from your parents so that you don't have any stress, any issues. However, I don't know if the Gen Zs care about the consent part from the parents.
No, the Gen Zs, I also don't think they care. I only ask because, in our top stories, we are going to be discussing relationships and, how long
is too long.
How long is too long? How long should one wait until they get married? How long should one wait until they, maybe leave a cohabiting situation? I think it's all intertwined.
Yes,
yeah,
definitely. And sometimes it's hard to take the next step when you're already comfortable with the first one.
and that is where the danger is. Do not allow yourself to become so comfortable that you cannot live when you are no longer appreciated.
Oh, that part.
Yeah.
Hey, you're cooking.
Yeah,
Hey,
today
don't be so comfortable that you can't live when you're not appreciated. Write it down.
on that note, we will be right back shortly with our top stories.
The Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism, in collaboration with the Namibia Tourism Board and the Ondonga Traditional Authority, will be hosting the Itotha Carnival at the Kangonde Sotpan in the Oshikoto region from 27th June to 1st July 2024. Expect a fun-filled weekend including traditional dishes, cookout competitions, totem parades, traditional games, horse riding, skydiving and quad biking. Accommodation facilities will be available at cost. The Itotha Carnival, celebrating our ancient heritage.
Since we're talking about Gen Zs, do you know what the leading search engine is for Gen Z seeking information?
TikTok.
TikTok. It's no longer Google.
Nah.
So we went to where they play and we found this TikTok from Cody and James talking about an interesting dynamic in their relationship.
What's the number one comment that we get on TikTok?
Why are we not engaged yet?
I think it's time for a story time.
We've been together for 13 years, which means there has been a little bit of frustration along the way. Namely, the number of timelines I've been given that did not pan out. The most recent one, the end of summer 2022. I had identified 2 dates I thought it might possibly be happening. Our anniversary and my birthday.
With regards to the anniversary, I'm to blame. I made a fatal error by saying one phrase. I come into the bathroom, you're getting ready, and I ask, are you photo ready today?
In my mind, I'm thinking there is no other reason he wants to know if I'm photo ready. Today is the day. It was not the day. That leads us to my birthday. He had planned a magical day, one fit for a master proposal.
Except
The proposal part. When I'm a year older and still no closer to an engagement, I might have hit my limit a little bit, which led us to one very tense night.
it's 10 p.m. I'm doing my normal 10 p.m. things. Taking a shower, getting ready for bed, lounging. Everything seems fine. You come in, you lay down on the bed beside me, and you immediately turn over to your other side. Everything is not fine. I try to flip her over. Unsuccessful.
And then we get into it. Remember that deadline you gave me that I could hold you to for a proposal? What happened?
Didn't happen.
And why?
And at that point, I knew I couldn't just brush this one off. I started getting into some of the frustrations that I had. I felt like there was a high expectation on the proposal, so I planned a very extravagant one. This plan far exceeded my budget. And the result, I have to continuously delay. But it was never an issue about me being ready for marriage. I offered to go to the courthouse.
No shade against courthouse weddings, but by this point, I had put in my time and I wanted the wedding I had been dreaming of.
I asked a follow-up question. We know the title's coming eventually. Why the rush?
And in that moment, the light bulb went off. Dink. The rush I was putting on it wasn't even a rush I was putting on it. All of my friends and family kept asking why we weren't engaged yet, and I'd been catching a lot of hate on here. I was comfortable with where we were at. I loved our relationship. I knew marriage wouldn't change what we had, and that he wasn't going anywhere. I had let all of these external pressures weigh me down, and I threw those onto him.
No matter how or when we eventually get to being engaged, married, we know one thing is true for certain. We're going to be together forever. So for all of you guys out there who see a 13-year relationship and try to discredit it because it doesn't have an engagement attached to it, it doesn't have a proposal attached to it, there are no kids involved, miss me with that.
All you haters out there saying that this man does not love me, trust, he does the things to show he loves me.
The things?
All the things.
I'm not even laughing. No.
You just said, mm-mm.
That's not on.
Complete disapproval.
No. Utter disapproval. That is not on.
What's wrong?
No, how can you wait for 13 years? And even after 13 years, you're not married. 13 years is too long. For me, I say date for 3 years, marry on the 5th year. If not, Go find someone else.
Do you know what's interesting? I was talking to our friend Kaya this morning, and 13 years is 1 year more than the year you spend in school.
Imagine.
From grade 1.
Oh no. 13 years is, you are taking me for something else now.
You're taking me for something else. It's very interesting because, I mean, the problem for me comes from the point that she's wanted and expected to get engaged, and he hasn't, and he said, oh, I was planning something so extravagant.
But for 13 years.
I'll tell you something very interesting. Of course, I didn't wait that long. I use logic. But when I was getting engaged, I had 2 plans, because, you know, a man make a plan plus 1.
Yes.
So I had 2 plans, and the other one was very extravagant, like this guy said, you know, and the other one was also very beautiful, still elegant, both plans very elegant. And it was a matter of, it was my lady's birthday. We're talking last year, by the way, that's when I got engaged. My lady's birthday. And I was like, okay, her birthday is during the week, right? Then on the weekend, we'll go and then do it, the extravagant thing. But something was telling me, do it on her birthday. Especially because in relationships, there's ways we create expectation. And I would say that with my lady and I, the expectation wasn't created from nowhere. We knew that we wanted to get married, you know, and we were waiting on me. Now, I had also been talking to her sister. So I called her sister while I was in the Valley of Decision. I'm like, listen, I'm thinking a birthday, and I'm thinking, the sister goes, if you take another day, just do what if you've decided you're going to do it, do it. All this thing you're trying to find, the extravagant, the thing, you already have an elegant plan, do it. And it went very well. And I thought it was very beautiful. I don't think there's a specific timeline. I do think that there are specific boxes people should tick, you know, understanding someone's mental health, understanding people's emotional intelligence, you know what I mean? Understanding how well people respect others outside of your relationship. Because once you are together, particularly if you're married, you're viewed as one, right? You know, which is why you can't invite people who don't like you or like me, like the other person at a wedding, because that's just not how it works. Because it's a union of 2 people. But I have to say, 13 years.
You know, I recently read, I think it's a Bible verse that I saw on Twitter, and I'm just gonna paraphrase it because I can't remember the exact words, but it says, he who waits for the perfect weather will never sow.
Hey.
Why are you waiting to plan an extravagant engagement?
And you're already living with someone's daughter. This is when the
For
Africans
13
step in.
years,
This is when the Africans step in. You're already living with someone's daughter. And it's
reaping off those benefits of a husband. You're being cooked for, you're being cleaned
you're
for.
cosplaying marriage.
So go to the court. Okay, you don't want to go to the court, but I don't think it takes 13 years for you to save for something extravagant. I don't know. What do you do?
I think the problem is also when you give people the benefits without the commitment for long enough, they just won't see any reason to add any extra investment. Because it's like, that's why even the way you're talking, you know, we already have this, our relationship is great. Yeah, what you don't have is a permanent commitment.
Yes.
You have the words that you've said to each other. Say them in front of us. They're called vows. So that we know that you're in this for the real deal. So, I mean, respect to them. It works for them. But, for example, in the African context, if you are cohabitating like that and then you decide to get married at Lobola, the concept of Lobola is you're saying, I'm coming to pick a flower from your garden. So the first thing they'll ask you is, excuse me, you've been living with this flower. What are you coming to pick? And thus you must pay for that transgression before we start talking. So keep that in mind.
So the money is up there.
The money is up there, yeah.
I think when it comes to, and it's an excuse that a lot of people use. I don't think it's valid because you know how much you earn, you know how much you're making. I think extravagance should be within your means. You can't want a Beyonce type of engagement when you earn 15,000. Your extravagance should be within the 15,000, within that context. That's why I'm saying it's invalid for you to plan for 13 years and extravagance something, because then it says to me that you're trying to step out of your means. You are living beyond your means.
Just to do that.
Yeah, just to do that.
And marriage gives gives you many opportunities because there's going to be wedding anniversaries, which you can, according to how, you know, how much, actually statistically you become wealthier.
Yeah.
Especially as a man, there's the higher chance of you becoming wealthier when you are married. You can celebrate and still do the extravagant things, but the main thing is this person's asking for a commitment. Robert Frost once wrote in one of his poems, it is impolitic, and impolitic means improper. It is impolitic to speak of love to a woman until she expects and wants to hear it. After that, it is a necessity. The last part I added by myself. He didn't finish his sentences.
He didn't finish his sentences. Okay, but nonetheless, let's move on to our next story. Julius Malema is suing Kenny Kunene over cigarette and smuggling allegations, according to City Press. Malema is demanding that Kenny Kunene apologizes and retract statements he made in which he alluded to Malema's alleged involvement with alleged cigarette smuggler Adriano Mazzotti and drugs, City Press reports. So just for background, Kenny was once part of EFF, and then I think they had a fallout, and then he went on to join another political party, and he made these allegations during a campaign. He went on stage and broadcasted to an audience. So he broadcasted to a live audience, and this audience recorded, and now it's everywhere on social media. Kenny was once sued again by Julius for other allegations that he made against Julius for 1 million rand, I think, and then Julius had won that case against Kenny. Yeah, so that is the story.
Interestingly, you know, in Namibia, there's also another $1 million defamation case between politicians, Job Panda and Minister Maureen Hinda. We'll see how that one goes. But do you know how much is said about Malema on a daily basis? From the richest man in the world, Elon Musk, right down to any other person everywhere. For him to actually decide that
I'm going to sue you.
You've taken it, because he takes things far.
But I think this is character assassination.
Absolutely.
You can't say that I'm selling drugs or I'm involved in drugs and cigarettes without evidence. You're just chatting, or maybe you saw me with this person, but it doesn't mean just because you saw me with this alleged drug lord that I am now also affiliated to him.
Because he's accusing him of also being affiliated with Nigerian drug pins and stuff. Now you see where he's building that narrative from is that Malema has taken a decidedly non-xenophobic stance in South Africa, whereas he says the focus is not on the folks who are here living with us, the focus is on the government. Right? Something South Africans might learn from Kenya, by the way. Kenya didn't go and burn anyone's houses. They went to parliament where decisions are made. Just give that a moment. So, you know what I mean? And so Kenny Kunene knows that the misconceptions that allow people to be xenophobic are all these stereotypes. Nigerian drug pins, or these people doing these things. And so he's trying to inflate that to be like the real reason Malema is supporting these quote-unquote foreigners.
And the real reason why you shouldn't vote for EFF.
Exactly. And to be clear, that's part of the real reason MK Party got a lot of votes. Because Malema was saying in the last election, they had transitional supporters in the sense that these were people who were always with Jacob Zuma, but they didn't have anywhere to land. So EFF felt like the closest thing to what they actually wanted. Then Zuma came through, and then
they went back to
went
Zuma.
home. And all of that.
I saw a TikTok of Zuma, and he was singing that song, and I'm like,
do you see him imitating those ladies who once protested Zuma must go?
Yeah.
He's another character. Him and defamation, couldn't care less.
I don't think anyone could hate Zuma like
Are you serious? He's very hateable.
No, his character. I think his personality, not the things that he does, just like his personality. I think he's very likable, and that's why I think people, after all what he has done, still went back to him.
But also keep in mind that was also largely an ethnic vote.
Yeah.
It was also considered as largely Zulu vote, and because he's got very strong standing in the Zulu community, and a large theory in the understanding of South Africa by the Zulu people that they have mentioned is that they feel like South Africa was built around the Zulu kingdom, and thus the original South Africans are the Zulu people. So he knows how to ride off of that. But if I'm to really say, like, who's the personality that's hard to be angry at no matter what he does? A Cupcake. Ramaphosa. Cyril. Cupcake. When your country calls you Cupcake, do you know how hard it is to hit a cupcake?
Yeah.
Cupcake is always smiling.
But nonetheless, we will be back with an exciting interview. Please do stay with us.
Kykers, baie welkom. Ek en Jareen is verskriklik opgewonde want ons kan die bruidspaar van die jaar kompetisie uiteindelik met julle deel.
We are very excited. We haven't just got a whole new concept for Republicane's Bridal Couple of the Year competition. We have a whole new program that goes along with that as well.
En ons program se naam is Trou Rock and Roll en dit is presies wat ons gaan doen. Ons gaan vir julle venues wys waar ons lekker kan trou in Namibië, van die noorde tot by die kus en natuurlik hier in Windhoek ook. Ons gaan met kenners in die trouindustrie gesels. Wie kan jou trou? Wie gaan jou klere maak? En wat gaan jou dekor wees?
And then also, of course, how much is it going to cost?
Yes.
But we're also going to be very controversial. We're going to be looking into all kinds of different factors as well. Where when we speak to the lawyer, for example, we are going to be talking divorce as well, because sadly, this is also a part of reality. But we're very excited about this whole project. So for those of you that have been following the Bridal Couple of the Year competition, you would have noticed that every year it evolves into something new. And this year we have a whole new setup, and we're excited about it because we have divided it up into quarters. So people must just, or married couples must just watch for the quarter when they got married, and then we give you time to enter, and then your chances are so much better to become part of the top 10, because out of every quarter we're going to have one lucky couple that is an automatic semi-finalist.
Nou Jareen, die inskrywings maak op Vrydag die 28ste Junie oop en ons is baie opgewonde want ons het die NMH chatbot wat deel van die projek is, so ons kan alles aanlyn doen in die gemak van jou huis op jou selfoon en dit is baie eenvoudig.
Or perhaps even try on your computer, because then it is even easier.
Exactly.
But yes, the chatbot is an integral part of the competition. We started with it earlier this year, and it has definitely changed the whole concept. We had a fabulous prize last year. I don't know if that is why we had over 230 entries. It was crazy. But I must say, after we decided to relaunch the setup in a bit of a different way, I'm hoping I don't get 70 of those 230 in the last quarter again.
Ja, as ek van al die beplanning waardeur ons gegaan het, skryf so gou as moontlik vir jou en jou man of vir jou en jou vrou in, want jou kanse is net soveel beter om gekies te word vir die top 10 hoe vroeër jy inskryf.
And then, as always, we look at your head and shoulders photos, we look at you from top to toe, we ask you more questions about how you met, what your wedding day was like, what your plans for the future are, what you're looking into, what your aspirations are, and what makes you a successful couple. But of course, we're not just going to be talking with couples that are entering, we're also going to be talking to couples that have been married for a while already.
En behalwe vir dit, ons gaan ook bietjie kyk na hoe het troues in die afgelope 100 jaar verander. Hoe lyk jou troue in 2024 teenoor hoe het jou troues gelyk in 1920 of 1930?
And along with that, interesting aspects rather than just something old, something new, something borrowed, and something blue. We're looking into tattoos instead of rings. We're looking into non-traditional wedding gear. The world is basically your oyster here. So don't miss this show. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. You can tune in every last Thursday of the month at 6:30 on our DSTV and GoTV channels. But of course, it will also be on our social media channels.
Natuurlijk. Jareen, wat was bietjie alternatief van jou troue?
So we got married in the bush in a tent. It was the traditional white, but my wedding dress was not white at all. It was gold.
And on that note, it's all our love, all our light. Tomorrow we return for the final show of the week, except for the Saturday one. Do not forget, we still do have, we still do have Smile the Coffee during the weekend. And happy Thursday, colleagues.
Adios.